Hey guys, it's Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge. Guys and gals. I include gals when I say guys. That's how I mean it. I do have a number of women that watch just this channel, and I thank you for watching very, very much. You guys are great. And we're looking at a fixed blade Friday knife today, a Sanrenmu knife, or Mu, this big guy. We've got a straight back blade, nice long belly, nice straight section here to cut a forward choil so you can sneak up if you want to, or you can hold it back here if you want to. Great for all kinds of grips, very secure in hand. Built-in bottle opener, or some kind of prying I guess you can do other than with just bottles, and a lanyard hole back here. I think, and I'm getting into the review already, I think they would have been better off if they would have also made this edge here a little bit flat, like a flat screwdriver, but if they did that, then I would criticize it as being a bad knife to do a reverse grip because you'd be putting your thumb on a sharp spot. So maybe they thought of it. It's got pros and it's got cons to do that. So the way they did it is pretty good. We've got jimping back here on the spine and on the belly of the handle at the end. And then on the spine of the blade, we've got some nice jimping as well. But a nice high saber grind, comfortable blade, not too heavy, and your typical Sanrenmu ABS plastic sheath. No, it's not Kydex. Some people were asking me, are you sure it's not Kydex? 100% plus sure that it's not Kydex. Very experienced in these things. This is an ABS plastic, or maybe another form of plastic that's similar to ABS. It might have little fibers in it to help keep it strong, which ABS often does not have, or generally does not have. But we've got a little drainage hole here, and we've got that 9-position belt loop clip that we've seen so many times. So I'm not going to talk too much about this sheath in this review. I'm going to talk mostly about the knife, because the sheath we've seen lots of times. It holds it secure. Tiny little bit of movement in there, yet you can hear some movement. But, you know, it's a good sheath that holds on well. You can make it left or right. Either way works just fine. So let's do the full review of the Sanrenmu S721 knife. Coming to you, full review right now. We're looking at what I would call a full-size knife. And yes, here's that sheath again, and we'll put it aside. Right there, so you can just have a peek at it the whole time. 8CR14 MOB steel, like most of these knives are. They do have a karambit that's got 14C28N, which is a really good sort of mid-grade stainless steel knife. 8CR14, it's in the budget line of steels for knives, and it's not at the very low end of the budget. It's, you know, roughly in the middle of the budget line, and I like it a fair bit. For the price of the knife, it's adequate. Would I prefer 12C27 over 8CR14? Definitely. Rockwell hardness on this guy is around 58 if it's hardened properly. There's no coating on the blade. There's a stonewash on the flat. This knife comes in another color. You can get straight black G10 instead of this black and green G10. And on the straight black G10, it looks like on the pictures that we've got a black stonewash ricasso and flat up the spine here instead of this just regular stonewash. So it's got, you know, a little darker up here, which is a good thing if that's what you're looking for. Like I said, G10 on these handle scales. They can come off, theoretically. I got this screw off, no problem. It's got a D-shaped post on the screw. Comes all the way through so it won't spin on this end. T8. And I got this one off. It took a bit of force to get it going. This one I could not get loose. I used my T8 from Weehaw. It fit very, very nice and snugly. I even used my drive grip on there so I wouldn't strip it out. And I have done a little bit of damage to that screw, not much at all, but it simply is not coming loose. You can look at that spot where that 15 is, and it's just a little bit of movement when I move the screw head. Not much at all. It's very, very, very tight. And so it fits in there. Plus, I used this drive grip to get a very good grip on it. And I think the post of the screw was going to start breaking, and it was going to break off inside if I did it anymore. So they must have used some Loctite or something in there, or just done something crazy to it. So I didn't get it all the way apart, but I'll show you a picture of what I got so you can see the inside. So yeah, they did a little bit of skeletonizing in there. Let's see where the balance point is. Yeah, its balance point, it wants to fall down like that, is, you know, very much right at the middle of this choil. If I hold it like this, it wants to turn because it's been radiused here, and even the handle, the steel here has got a slight, well, nice chamfer on it. So it wants to roll over, but the center of gravity is right by your index finger when you're holding it this way, which is a very good thing. I like that a lot. We've got a nice grind on here. Some of the spots on the grind lines are a little bit more accentuated than others. Maybe the stone that they were using to do this grinding was starting to get a little bit old and maybe get a couple little nicks on the stone. So yeah, but that's a small thing. This is a budget knife after all. The grind is nice and smooth. Nice swedge up here, up to the tip. Okay, so we're a little bit closer to the camera now. Let's do it on this side so we can see. You can see that you've got that nice chamfer or swedge there, and then we've got a little divot right here, and then we've got the jimping along here, which is nice. I think this knife, its use practically is a camping knife. Well, let's go camping. I'm going to take this knife along. That's the main use that I would think of this knife. Could it be used for all kinds of things? Of course, you could use it as a survival knife if you wanted to. Is it made for that? No, not really. You could use it for skinning an animal. Is it made for that? No, not really. You could use it for a bushcraft knife. Is it made for that? No, you see what I'm getting at? It's not really made for any one thing, except for if you would consider going camping, especially if you think of car camping, where you take a car to a park, like a national park or something, and you park and you pitch a tent, or you use your small camper and stuff, and you hang out in the woods, you know, near, you know, not too many kilometers or miles away from a highway. That kind of camping, that's what this is made for. We've got a bottle opener, you know, because you want to open up your brewskis, beers, for people that aren't familiar with that slang term, brewskis. There's a lanyard hole for you to tie stuff onto, tie the lanyard onto, you know, so you don't drop or lose your knife very easily. And you know, it's a nice little knife. I like it quite a lot. How much does this thing weigh? Well, it's only 120 grams, which is 4 1/4 ounces. So you've got a nice light knife. With the sheath, it's only 7 1/2 ounces, 214 grams, well, 7.55 ounces. So it's a nice light knife that you can carry around, and it's not a problem that way. I quite like it like that. If you don't mind, if you're camping, having a bigger knife around your neck, you could take this off and tie you know, some loop around your neck, and you'd have a decent sized knife hanging around your neck. You know, depending on what kind of pants you have and stuff, you might want to use it that way. It's not so heavy that it's going to hurt your neck or bother your neck, I don't think. At least it wouldn't bother me. Yeah, it's a nice knife. We do have this strange little divot here on the spine, which I think is also good for camping, because if you've got a fire, sometimes you've got a pot that you put on a fire that you're cooking with, and you've got a wire looped handle. You know, you put this underneath the handle and have that loop rest right there, so you could pick up a hot pot with a good handle and not burn yourself, and you'd have control right there with that. You know that might be what that's good used for. Otherwise, it's just really cosmetic. Let's zoom in a little bit and go over all of the dimensions of this knife. We've got a cutting edge of 9.74 centimeters. That's 3.83 inches. We've got a blade length, so tip to the G10 tip right there, 10.85 centimeters, 4.27 inches. The blade thickness is 3.6 millimeters. That's 0.1415 inches. The blade depth is 2.5 centimeters, which is 0.97 of an inch, so an inch basically like this. The thickness of the edge behind the grind is 0.56 millimeters. That's 0.022 inches. So 22 thousandths of an inch, not bad at all. That's a good thickness for a knife like this. The grind angles, now that's weird. And again, I've talked about grind angles all the time because it's important to have that talk. This thing is ground at 27 degrees on this side, the side that's got the model number. And on this side, it's ground at 22.4 degrees. Now, I think a camp knife like this with this particular steel, If I was going to hard use it at a camp, I'd probably leave this one side at 22 degrees and I'd grind this side down to 22 degrees as well. You know, all the way down to maybe 20 degrees per side, but not less than 20 degrees per side for this particular steel in this kind of use. And I think it would stay up to that. I think it would withstand use for that kind of angle and do a good job for you. Let's talk about the rest of the handle. The G10 handle scales, just the G10, is 9.4 centimeters. That's 3.7 inches. The handle thickness is 1.33 centimeters. That's 0.525 inches. So just over half an inch thick this way. I'd like it a little bit thicker if I was going to do more hard use with it. Like if I wanted a survival knife, I'd want this handle to be thicker and more robust. It's a little thin for that kind of dedicated use. Handle depth is, and it varies as you go up, but around the thickest spot around here is an inch, 2.54 centimeters. And the grip area, and for that I'm measuring where my thumbnail is to where my other thumbnail is. I'm not using this forward choil as a measurement. So the grip I'm saying right here is 8.5 centimeters, 3.35 inches. Is it more than that? Well, yeah, it's generally more than that because you can have your grip going way back here. So up on this steel here, you can get your grip up to this forward choil. So, you know, my hands are large, bordering on extra large, and you can get a lot of grip and still have knife left over. And just all the way back here, leaving over this choil, you know, you get a nice reverse grip. It's a good knife to use for all kinds of things, no matter what size hands you are, generally speaking. That's not an absolute statement. It's just sort of generally. The total length of this knife is 21.6 centimeters, 8.5 inches. It costs $26.60 at GearBest, both colors. That equals 35.52 Canadian, in euros, 23.01, so 23 euros, and almost 21 British pounds, 20.9 British pounds. So not a bad price for what you're getting if you buy it from GearBest. So fit and finish, excellent, except for this screw. I wish I could have taken it apart easily. I didn't want to force it and break it because I don't have a spare screw of this type. And so I wanted to leave it intact in case somebody wanted to buy this from me. I wouldn't mind keeping it, but if somebody wants to buy this, I'm totally happy to sell it for list price minus 25%. And that includes me putting my custom edge on it. So that's a good price. Just email me at CanadianCuttingEdge@gmail.com. First one to ask for it gets it. This knife, you see the date stamp right here. It was made in May 2018, so it's a nice new knife design for Sanrenmu. I really like this 9-position clip. That's a good thing. And the rest of the sheath here is made well, and we've talked about that in enough detail. I like this jimping back up here. It's not so aggressive that it's going to become bothersome, but it's enough to help you get a better grip. Same thing back here. You know, the exact same story. It's not too much jimping, and it's not too little jimping. As well as on the side of the G10, there's also, you could call that jimping in a sense as well. That work there to give it a good grip in your hand. I like that quite a lot. The bottle opener is totally functional. I'm not going to show you opening something. I opened a bottle of a pop and it's perfect. Works great. And I like this little divot up here as well. And I've talked about that as well. I think it's a really nice, as I said before, let's go camping knife. Really good for that kind of use. The cons, basically, even if it's for a let's go camping knife, I think if they would have made this G10 a little bit thicker, that would be better. And just that one change would help it out a fair bit. Now, you could wrap some sticky tape around here, tape from a tennis racket or whatever, that kind of tape, something to make it thicker if you wanted to use it for that kind of thing a little bit more, especially if your hands are bigger than a men's medium or a lady's large. You know, if your hands are bigger than that, you might want to add something to give yourself a little more grip. But I think it's a great little knife. Let's do some cutting. I've got some really light paper here. Now, I've used this a fair bit. It still has the factory edge on it. You know, it's not cutting perfectly. It's not catching every single time, but that's the factory edge, and it's still cutting quite well. Let's cut something like this that you've seen on my videos lately. And see how well it does with that. No problem cutting that kind of stuff. Let's see. let's get this out. Let's see how well it cuts this kind of stuff. And that's why I think it would be thicker, a little bit thicker in my hand would be better for the grip. You know, it's a little bit hard to cut using the back of my hand. Partly that's my arthritis getting in the way. And partly that's because the handle's so thin. You just can't get that grip for this really hard cutting. Now, this is not your average kind of cutting. This is hard cutting. You know, your average whittling of wood and stuff is much easier to do than that. Now, let's see if I can do the... You've seen the other cut that I do with this kind of stuff where I just try to cut through, you know, a loop like this. And so we'll see how well that works. And yeah, that didn't work as well as I wanted to. It took 2 tries. And again, I think it's partly due to that 27-degree angle here. It's just not shallow enough angle from the factory. You do need to take it. And I think it would cut much better, you know, at 22 or 20 degrees per side on here. I've got a piece of some hardwood here. And see, if you needed to do some controlled cutting, it works quite well. If you needed to produce a little bit of something to start a fire, it can do that. The tip is quite strong. You know, no problem there. Didn't bend at all. I'm not going to try to abuse my knife. And you can certainly use it for whittling. Get a good grip and use your thumb back there. And partly I don't like doing cut tests on reviews with a factory edge because factory edge, like this one, is not all the best. The knife will be much better after it's made with a proper grind angle. And that happens so often with budget knives. So don't judge this knife too harshly because of how it behaved right here. I'm going to sharpen this up if I've got time, but with my knife sale going on, I might not have time to sharpen it up before this video goes live. And I'm totally 100% convinced, no question, no doubt, because I'm very familiar with this steel. At that angle, it would behave a whole lot better. So this might be the last, I'm not sure, I have to double check. I think this might be the last of my fixed blade Sanrenmus for a little while. I don't know if there's any more that I need to buy to review. I'm not going to review the Karambit knives that are totally dedicated to being fighting knives. I've decided I probably won't be reviewing because I'm just not that into that kind of thing, and I don't have the experience to judge fighting knives or whatever. So next time, on next Fixed Blade Friday, we're going to look at a totally different kind of knife, probably with a carbon blade, we'll see, instead of a stainless steel. So thanks for watching my video. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. And remember, I've got a giveaway going on, so find that video and join the giveaway. You have until the 20th of September to find that. Thanks for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Remember, guys, always cut towards your anything else. I say cut towards your chum. Old English word for your friend, your buddy, your pal, the guy that's around you. Cut towards your chum, not your thumb. Bye now.